know how to discipline an autistic child for not listening? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, how to build strong family bonds, child development, neurodiversity, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about autism. There is this ideation that happens with autism where they get so fixed on one certain thing that it can seem like they don't care about anybody else or they're not paying attention. Now, we know that autistic people often seem like they don't have the ability to have proper social skills. They can improve on social skills. I will let you know that. I had autistic children live with me. They were teens, actually, all between the ages of 12 and 18 when I did therapeutic treatment care for troubled teens, and I was able to teach them good social skills. We had a lot of social training. Was the learning curve steeper? Yes. Were there some social lessons that were a little bit more awkward? Yes, but they can learn social skills. So if the person is not listening to you, what is that? That is a bad social skill. But people who are autistic can learn how to tell themselves to focus even if they're wanting to ideate on something else at the time. Basically, it comes down to selfishness. Do you indulge in selfishness, or do you teach them what they are going to need to succeed? When an autistic person is ideating about something, they're at a very selfish state at the time. They're having a really happy moment within themselves on whatever it is that they happen to be thinking about. Even though that's nice to have those moments as a person from time to time, it also could be detrimental to them to not learn how to break those thoughts and to focus on somebody else and what they're saying for a moment. So we do need to teach that. It's in the parenting world that that lesson is taught best. So let's get into how to teach the skills of listening to your autistic child, as well as some other skills that are going to be beneficial for you. But first, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, it could probably be really beneficial to you if you're working with an autistic child. So what skills do you need to be teaching? You need to teach them how to break from thought. Now that seems complicated. How do you help a person in their own head choose not to think a certain way? What do you do about that? Well, first you have a conversation with that person and you explain what ideation is. How ideation is this ability to just go really deep into one thing and not focus on anything else at the time, but to get hyper-focused on one thing, and how this skill is actually very beneficial in some circumstances. If you're a researcher, if you're trying to solve a major problem in your life or help somebody else try to solve a problem, then this could be a really beneficial skill. I mean, if you are getting into a certain hobby and you want to really excel at something like that, this could be very beneficial for you. But this also could make it so that you can't recognize what's going on around you because you're caught up in your own thoughts, in your own head. It could make it so that people feel like you're not connected to them and could hurt your relationships. It could also make it so that you are showing disrespect to other people when you're not intending to. So how about you explain that to your autistic child? Have what I call in my TSG parenting course and in my book, a parent counseling session, where you describe what ideation is to them so that they know it's one of their skills. It's one of their strengths, but just like all strengths, it could also present as a weakness if we don't know when to use it and when not to use it. So first have that conversation, then talk with the person about how that strength does end up causing them problems sometimes. Ask them if they've recognized when maybe ideating on something has caused a problem for them. They might say, oh yeah, sometimes you think I'm not listening to you when I actually am listening to you, or when I'm just thinking about something else. So what are the normal social cues that you are listening to another person? They may not know, or you've probably told them enough times they actually do know. And they might say, well, I need to look at the person. That's right. You've got to make eye contact with them. But also, if you repeat back something that they told you, that also shows that you're listening and that you got the message. If you give some opinions on what they shared with you, that also shows them that you are actually engaged in the conversation. Explain those things, practice those things. Then you're going to want to teach a skill. The skill is accepting a no answer. So if you've been on this Teaching Self-Government channel for a while, then you know I love skills, especially the 4 basic skills of self-government, because they are the foundational piece to learning self-government. There are many skills that build upon these 4 basic skills, but these 4 basic skills actually take care of 99% of the behavioral problems that a person might have. And this is adult or child. Now that said, there are other skills that you need in order to correct problems that your child might be having for not following these 4 basic skills. So be sure to get all of the skills of self-government at teachingselfgovernment.com. But for now, let's just talk about this one skill of accepting a no answer. So I've written 11 books. 4 of those books are a children's book series, all dedicated to teaching the 4 basic skills to children. What are the 4 basic skills? Following instructions, accepting no answers and criticism, accepting consequences, and disagreeing appropriately. Now, all of these skills are going to help with social development, and when I did therapeutic treatment care for troubled teens, I taught all 4 of these 4 basic skills to teens. Now, if your child's over age 12, you may not use these 4 books, but they are beneficial for children who are 12 and under. They're super relevant, they reinforce, and they are fun. If your child's older and if you have younger children, just have them read these books to the younger children, because everyone needs these skills, not just autistic people. This book here, Porter Earns a Quarter, teaches the skill accepting no answers and criticism, which is the one that I want to talk about first. When a person accepts no answers, that means that they can look at the person or the situation, keep a calm face, voice, and body, say okay or ask to disagree appropriately. That's one of those other 4 basic skills. And then they can drop the subject. Think of that for an autistic person. Drop the subject. And they can move on. So when a person is being told something, it's going to be good as the parent for you to say, Jonathan, I need you to look at me. Jonathan, break the thought. It's a no answer. Look at me. Okay, I'm giving myself a no answer now, Jonathan has to think in his head. Thinking that is a no answer for now, even though I was right in the middle of it, I need to look at mom. So now I look at mom. And mom says, no answer on playing that game right now. We've got to move on to getting our shoes and our coat. We've got to get ready for school. Or we've got to get out the door to karate class, or whatever it is that Jonathan needs to go and do. Now Jonathan has to say, okay. And he's got to stay calm, and he's got to tell himself to drop the subject. Now, if he really wants to spend more time on that game, he's going to use the skill disagreeing appropriately. There are 7 steps to that skill, and he needs to know he can always use them. But even if he disagrees appropriately and it's still time to go, he's going to have to accept that no answer ultimately. He might get his way with the disagree appropriately, he might not. So he needs to know how to say okay in the end and drop the subject if necessary. If he keeps talking about the game or he keeps having anxiety about something, then you need to tell him, this is where you drop the subject. And if he does not drop the subject, then you would need to do a correction. Essentially, what Jonathan has to do in his head when you are telling him to do something different than what he's planned on is he has to focus on you. That's where the listening comes in. Maybe even repeat back what it is that you told him to do or not to do. He has to accept the instruction or the no answer, and then he has to either use the skill accepting no answers, which is this book here like we talked about, or he might have to use the skill following instructions, which is in this book. And then if he doesn't use those skills, he has 2 choices. He can either be corrected for not using his skills, or he could choose to say, okay, may I disagree appropriately, and use his disagree appropriately skill. If he doesn't use his disagree appropriately skill and he continues to talk back to you or ignore you and pretend he's not listening, then he could need to be corrected for that. And there are steps for how to do a proper self-governed correction at the website teachingselfgovernment.com. Whether a person is autistic or not, they can learn skills. They can train themselves. In fact, they can choose to hyper-focus on some of those skills, which can be very beneficial. I have worked with some youth who have had extreme autistic behaviors where they have a really hard time making eye contact at all. And they still have learned how to look at the person, how to repeat back, how to use those skills, how to drop the subject. It's absolutely possible. There is so much more that I could teach you about autism and about self-government skills and about what you can do to reach the heart of your autistic child when you need to correct them, instead of creating a situation where you're overwhelming them, which can happen sometimes with autism. So I highly recommend getting the full training at teachingselfgovernment.com. There are two ways you can get the full training. Either you can get the online course, which is the TSG parenting course on the website, or on the website you will see that I periodically do 3-day intensive teachings. They're called parenting mastery trainings. Both of these resources come with the TSG support group so that you can have access to me and ask questions as you are dealing with some of this extreme behavior. But that parenting mastery training is by far, if I can't come to your house, which I can only do a few times a year just due to my schedule, then those are the best ways for you to learn the full program, get the most support, and learn it the quickest. And that parenting mastery training is really kind of a fan favorite. People like that the very most. So find yourself there. I'll see you there. Don't lose hope. They'll learn to listen to you. We just got to be a little bit more deliberate, a little bit more proactive.